Hey guys. So we're on to video 2. We're going to do a little more distributing, and then we're also going to throw in some combining like terms in this one. On this video, we have a total of 3 examples. Here is my first example. Make sure you're taking notes. As with all of our other equation problems, I'm going to draw that red line going right through the equal sign. Now this becomes especially important on this problem. On this problem, it's important to notice that we have 2 letter M's, but those 2 letter M's are both on the right-hand side of the problem, right? They're both over here. When you have 2 like terms, maybe they're 2 variables, maybe they're 2 constants, which are numbers without variables, and they're on the same side of the equal sign. And it's really apparent when they're on the same side if you draw that red bar right down the middle. Like, it's really obvious that they're on the right-hand side. When they're on the same side of the equal sign, you're going to combine them together exactly as they are. So it's really, really important that we just take the 5M and the 2M, even though they're not right next to each other, the fact that they're both on the right side, and we're just going to add them together as they are. The one thing you don't want to do, and I'm going to show it to you right now, so, I'm going to make a mistake right now. Don't write this on your paper. The one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to see 2 letter M's and think, oh, I'm going to move my letter M's together by subtracting it. That is not correct. The reason why this is not correct is that you're subtracting a 2M twice on the right-hand side of that red line that we drew. We learned that whenever you move something, you have to do it once on the left side and once on the right side. In this scenario, I'm doing it twice on the right side, and that is a big no-no. We do not do the same thing twice on the same side. Okay, so don't do that. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to underline my 5M and my 2M, which are both on the same side, and I'm going to add them together exactly how they look. So 5M plus 2M. Again, I am not subtracting because I'm not moving it to the other side. I'm keeping it where it is, and I'm just combining them together. I'm now at a 2-step equation, which we learned how to do yesterday. So next, I'm going to take my adding and subtracting. In this problem, I have a minus 23. So I'm going to add 23 to both sides. And then I'm going to move my multiplying and dividing. I have a times 7, so I will be dividing by 7. And I get M equals 4 for my final answer. Don't forget, if you are not confident that you did the problem correctly, or if you just want to feel good about your answer, you can always take your answer, and so my M equals 4, and plug it back into the original question to see if it is correct. So if you want to check your work, it would be 5 times 4 minus 23, and then just make sure that you're plugging it in everywhere that you see a letter M. So you're also going to plug it in over here. So that's 20 minus 23 plus 8. We're going to start with 20 minus 23, which is negative 3, and negative 3 plus 8, that's the same as 8 minus 3, and that is equal to 5. So we did good. We got the right answer. All right, let's move on to the second example. In our second example, we will be doing distributing, which was in our first video, but also some combining like terms. So kind of putting everything together. But first, we draw our red line. In our first video today, we learned that if you see parentheses, you should start with distributing. So I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to distribute it to the 3 and the minus x. I will not be distributing it to the negative 2 because that was not in the parentheses. On our previous example, we learned that if you have like terms that are on the same side of that red bar, you can combine them together. So when I'm looking at the left side of this equation, I notice that there are 3 terms, 36, negative 12x, and negative 2. Anytime you have more than 2 terms, some of them are going to be like terms, because we only really have 2 types of terms. We have the letter x and we have a constant. So some of them have to be similar. In this problem, the 36 and the negative 2 are like terms. They are both constants. Since they are both on the left-hand side of the problem, we can just combine them together as is. So I will be taking this 36 and I will be subtracting this 2, just like it says. Notice again, I did not do plus 2 and plus 2 because you can't do the same thing on the same side of that red bar. Now this problem is tricky, like our example from our first video. This problem is a little bit tricky because it looks like I'm subtracting a 12x, but remember that we're looking to see how the number is connected to the letter x. And if the number is right next to the letter x, it's being multiplied, and we're not going to move it just yet. Instead, I'm going to move the 34. Since there's no symbol in front of the 34, I'm going to say that it's a positive 34, and I will be subtracting it. Remember that this minus sign is attached to the 12, not the 34. You're looking in front of the number. 34 minus 34, that cancels. That's good. Notice that the subtraction sign got carried down with the 12, so I will be dividing now by a negative 12, and my final answer is 3. You can plug this back in. Look, 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 times 12 is 0. And you're left with just the negative 2. So this one works very well. Let's do one more just to make sure we're feeling confident before we finish tonight's homework. In this example, again, we're drawing our red line. And we're starting with distributing because of the parentheses. Notice that I did not say we're starting with subtracting. We're starting with distributing. When you're distributing in this question, it's important that you take the 8 that is right next to the parentheses, but you also take the minus sign with it because that minus sign is making this a negative 8. We're going to do negative 8 times x and negative 8 times 4. And this 3 is just still going to be a number 3 out here. So make sure that the 3 stays a number 3. When you distribute a negative, all the signs inside the parentheses change. So this will become a negative 8x, and this will become a negative 32. It's one of the most common mistakes is forgetting to switch the middle symbol. I have 3 terms on the left-hand side. So again, at least 2 of them have to be like terms. And those 2 are the 3 and the negative 32 because those are both constants. They're both just numbers. So next I will be combining together a positive 3 with a negative 32. And that becomes negative 29. Notice that the 8 still also has its minus sign in front of it. Now the order doesn't matter. If you instead had written the negative 29 first and the minus 8x second, that also would have been okay. It's just important that they are both negative. They should both have a minus sign or a negative symbol in front of them. So make sure that they're both negative. When we write it in this order, it becomes a little less confusing because now it's more what we're used to as far as the order goes. My letter X is written first. My adding and subtracting is written second. So again, since the 8 is right next to the X, we will not be moving that right now. We will start by moving the negative 29. So I'm going to add 29 to both sides. And then for my final step, I'm going to be dividing by negative 8. And so my answer is negative 1. Again, you can double check by plugging it back in here if you need to see if it's right or wrong. This concludes our second video.